All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Speak to the Beak. I am Tim the Ferds, joined by Joe Wilson. And listen, I'm not even going to ask Joe how he's doing because I know he's excited, and he's excited for two reasons. One, we're here for our NHL Playoff Preview podcast, and two, this man just finished his last final, so he is done with his college semester.
Very exciting. Yes, sir.
And
Can't
he
wait.
sounds a little more excited this time than the other
Yeah.
two times I asked him. Because let me tell you, this is take three now. Because we're having some audio difficulties over here. See, I'm more of a wired in headphone guy, and Coach Joe is like a, digital native, so to speak, with the AirPods. And they don't work. They don't work. That's why you should plug things in, people. That's why you should plug things in. All right, but anyway, so we're here for our NHL Playoff Edition podcast. But there's a couple of things we're going to need you to do before we get to that, right? Because we know playoff hockey is gonna become more intense. So we need our listeners to become more intense, which means you need to go to beakbrands.com to check out our podcasts and our blogs. You need to follow at Beak Brands on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you need to, if you watch on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, interact with the bots. I don't really care. As long as you share it with your friends. All right. And then if you're a Spotify, Apple listener, rate, review, follow, do whatever you want. 5 stars, 2 stars. I mean, five would be preferred, but whatever. We're easy going here. And obviously, if you want something covered on a topic, hit me and Joe up on the Instagram there. I'm at Tim Ferdinand. He's at Joe Wilson24 with 2 E's on the Joe. If you're like, hey, you never talk about my team, like let's say you're a Canadians fan and we kind of just, never talk about you ever because we don't care. But we'll start caring. We will start caring if that's the team you want to hear more about. Okay? So you let us know because we're here to please the audience. I know Joe's ready, so let's hop right into it. First, we're going to go quick news around the league. So, number one, the Rangers fired your boy, Mr. Quinn. How does that make you feel?
Um, One, not my boy. Do not want him to be referred as that. But as an Islander fan, that's tough because the Rangers are actually going to be like a good team now because they don't have a shitty head coach holding them back. I feel like firing the president and the GM wasn't the right decision. Whether it had to do with the message they sent out about Tom Wilson or not. I think the team's poor play has only circulated around David Quinn's decisions that he makes for the Rangers, and now that he's gone, the Rangers are going to play a lot better hockey because the one time that he didn't coach, they played the best game they had all season. So.
Oh man, listen, I agree. It's unfortunate if you're a fan of another team in the Eastern Conference because now the Rangers actually might be good. I mean, they were like pretty good this year, but like actually good, like an actual threat. I'm glad you brought up Tom Wilson real quick because we were talking over/under on fights last podcast, and you thought it was going to be the under because the Rangers didn't have anyone that could throw. Well, listen, right on the opening face-off, Joe's number was way off. 3 fights right off the bat. And then the
Yeah.
second Wilson steps on the ice, they're ready to fight him. So I guess taking the under there was not the smart move by you.
Was not. I didn't expect it, but that was a great game to watch.
I
A lot of
know.
fight.
That was the only time, like I said last week, the only time I've ever think I'm going to root for the Rangers in my life. But listen, they deserve to beat the hell out of Tom Wilson. The rest of the guys, like, all right, you got to pay because your teammate's an idiot. But, like, him specifically, like, hell yeah. I would have taken
Yeah,
the stick and just cracked him in the back of the head with it. For whatever. You know what? It doesn't matter. Like, listen, suspend me for 10 games. Like, I'll miss a couple. I'll miss a week next year.
fine.
What'd you say?
You'd only get a $5,000 fine anyway if you did that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a big deal, right? Eye for an eye, as they say. Number two, John Tortorella not returning as a Blue Jackets head coach. So I guess Patrick Laine got his way, huh?
He really did. But yeah, he'll be back with another team. I think so. I think he's a good coach. He just doesn't stand for the diva NHL player type build. And I just think he could be a little hard on his team at times, which some players might not like. But it works. They swept the Lightning that one year after they won the President's Trophy.
That was 2 years ago, I think, right?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Reunited with the Rangers? Question mark.
That'd be crazy. Imagine.
I don't think it'll happen, but I think he wore out his welcome there. But that would be
Yeah.
crazy. The team they have
Yeah,
now.
I would. Never know.
Never know, I guess. All right, number 3. Jack Capuano became the U.S. men's national team head coach. Joe Heredy's shaking his head like, how does that happen? I don't know. I was going to ask you how that happened, so you let me know.
I don't know how that happened. That's a bad decision, I think, on their part. But then again, I don't think Canada and like America are taking that tournament too seriously because sure they have some talented players in the lineup, but nothing as close to as talented as that lineup should be. Like Brian Boyle, I saw was on the third line. Come on. Come
Wow,
on.
really? I didn't see that. That's insanity. How was that guy in the third line?
That's what I'm saying.
All right, and then lastly, for our quick news recap, he did it. He did it. Connor McDavid got 100 points in 56 games. Please keep trying to tell me this guy, if we dropped him off in 1978, would not net 500 points in a season. This guy is so good. He'd put up. I'm not even kidding. I think he'd put up like 6 points a game, like 40 years ago. You just picked him up and dropped him off.
I agree.
He'd make everyone look so stupid. He's so good. I'm so glad he did it. And I'm so glad that we've been monitoring that since like 2 months ago. We were like, hey, he actually has an outside chance at this. And we've been on it. And that's one of the times I wish we had a national audience because God, would I look so smart. And so would you. But I brought it up first. So God, would I look so intelligent.
Yeah. There are times though where I'm still glad that we have a little audience.
Yeah, Joe has. But listen, the McDavid thing was cool because like we're both Islander fans, obviously. But to go back and forth every night, like 2 points, 4 points, 3 points, like he's doing it, and he did it. So that was fun to monitor for sure.
I agree.
But here's what we're gonna do: we're gonna change the format of the show a little bit going forward because obviously playoffs, a lot less game action on a nightly basis. So we're really going to focus in on different series and whatnot. So here's how tonight's show is going to go. We're going to start in the West, go North, Central, save the East for last. Okay? So the reason we're starting with the West is because as of this recording, it's still not set. Avalanche play tonight in about 45 minutes, give or take. And listen, that's just way past my bedtime. So we got to do the podcast now. All right, because I got work tomorrow. So, let's start in the Western Conference, Joe. Let's start with this. Do the Blues have any chance to beat Vegas or Colorado?
No, sir.
No.
0 chance.
0 chance. Good. This is why we're starting with the West, because this will be quick and easy. I agree completely. So if you're the Wild, who would you rather play? The Avalanche or Vegas?
That's a really tough one, I'd say. In my opinion, I think the Wild have a pretty good defensive team. Like their defensive lines are pretty solid. So honestly, I would try my luck with the Colorado Avalanche due to I think that Vegas has a much better defense than them. And as we just saw, Fleury and Leonard won the Williams Jennings Trophy for fewest amount of goals let up in the season. So I feel realistically the Wild would have a better chance outscoring the Colorado Avalanche than trying to go to like toe-to-toe goal for goal with Vegas.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you. And I think the 1 seed's important for that reason in the West because if you're the Avalanche, and let's be realistic, like, you're going to kill St. Louis. So like, and so would Vegas. So, but if you're the Avalanche, you can get the 1 seed. Vegas might actually have to work to beat the Wild, and that might work in your favor in the second round. So I'm assuming no matter what, out of the Western Conference, you're taking Vegas and Colorado.
Yeah.
Favorites only. Okay, I agree. Obviously, it's boring to go favorites all the time, but in this particular case, you can't say no. I mean, for me, those are the best 2 teams in the league right there. And it's a shame that we're going to have to see them play in the second round of the playoffs. But
Yeah, I agree.
it is what it is. So we'll come back to the West at another time once we're in the middle of the series and we kind of know how it's going to go. But let's go up north, all right, because this one's a little bit more interesting. Let's start with the Leafs and the Canadiens. All right, and now they've played, obviously, I mean, all these teams have played each other a bunch of times, but I feel like Montreal has really given Toronto some problems, like when they really shouldn't have. Do you
Yeah, I
agree
agree.
with that? Yeah, okay.
I do agree with
That's what
that.
I thought.
I think that they're like top four, like top three lines are really. I think they have a lot of good depth on their forwards, like for their offense. So I think that's why they give Toronto such a hard time because Toronto's defense is slacking. Their goaltending is a bit slacking, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what I'm trying to do right now, because God forbid it actually come up the one time I need to see it, is the head-to-head record of the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs. Is that series not set yet because the North is still playing games?
If you go
Tomorrow,
on
Maple
Bleacher
Leafs play
Report,
the Jets.
if you go on Bleacher Report and
I
like click on
am.
one of the, well,
Yeah, it says Canucks Oilers. Canucks are out, so I guess, yeah. So the North schedule's not set yet because, yeah, the Flames are playing the Canucks on May 16th, but the Islanders are starting their playoff series.
yeah, no, I don't get how that works. They have like regular season games going to the 19th, and I don't understand how the playoffs are starting the 16th.
Alrighty. Well, either way,
But
so
it's like
the Canadian series
nuts.
doesn't start until the 20th.
Oh, so yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, that's a little
Because their division
ridiculous.
finishes last. That makes sense.
Well,
Steve,
anyway, the stat I was looking for while we waited. Montreal is 7-2-1 against. I mean, excuse me. Toronto is 7-2-1 against Montreal, but they play a lot of close games. When you look at their game log, like it's rarely a blowout, except for that one time that Austin Matthews like lost his mind. Um, so who you taking to win this series? The Leafs or the Canadians?
I'd say Toronto is gonna win the series.
Because they're good. Yeah.
I just don't see the Canadians winning a 7-game series against them.
Yeah, I don't think
But
the
then,
Canadians have the firepower.
yeah, me neither.
All right, so let's go to the more interesting one of the two northern ones, for me anyway. Jets
Yeah.
are playing Edmonton. Okay. Winnipeg 2-7 against the Oilers this season, but Joe has some news for us on the Toronto front, which is
Which is
then you say Ehlers
that.
might come back.
Oh yeah, Nick Ehlers may come back, and that would be huge for the Winnipeg Jets because that's their first line winger, and if they can get him back, that's a bunch of scoring and a bunch of points that they're getting back into the lineup that they don't need to replace with some scrub. So it would give them a better chance, but I still think that Connor McDavid's not losing in the first round after all the playoff struggles and difficulties he's had in his career.
James Neal's still out due to health protocols. You think that affects Edmonton at all?
No.
Yeah, good answer. So, look, everyone knew that listens to us, like, Winnipeg was kind of my sleeper team until they kind of fell apart due to injury, which is a shame because I like the way they play. I do think that if Ehlers comes back, they'll be able to hang in there a little bit with Edmonton, like maybe push it to 6 games, but I don't think they'll get swept.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, McDavid and Draisaitl are just too good. I don't know if Winnipeg can keep up with them skating-wise or scoring-wise. So I'm also going to go with Edmonton. So right now, me and Joe are both in lockstep. But I think the teams coming up are going to start disagreeing a little bit. A little bit. So
Yeah, slightly.
let's go to the Central, which, do you think this is the best division top to bottom out of playoff teams?
Yeah.
I think so,
Yeah.
too. I think so, too.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. All right, so now that we got that out of the way. Hurricanes are playing Nashville. Nashville's stupid hot still. They're playing well. Do you think they can beat the Hurricanes in this series?
No, not in the series. They might get a game or two, but Carolina's been different this season. So, and they've also ended the season on a crazy streak as well. So, I just don't see the Predators holding up with them at all.
They did. The only thing, like, this is another one, like, this might come down to if you face a hot goaltender, you have a chance. And I've seen Nashville's goaltending do that before in the regular season and in the playoffs. And the real question is, do I trust the Hurricanes, Do I trust their goaltending? And the answer is, not really. Even though I should, but, like, I don't.
I do. A bunch. Not gonna lie.
I don't know, man. There's just something about goalies I've never heard of in the playoff series that make me nervous.
Even if, like, the goalies are hot, I still think Carolina's top 9 is so much better than Nashville's top 9. So it doesn't really matter. Nashville really has like 4 like solid offensive players, like five at most, really. But, like, I feel like Carolina has 2 solid lines, and then the third line's even pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like Nashville's more of a defensive team, and to beat like if they're going to, I don't think they will, but if they're going to, it's gonna need to be like 2-1 every night.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, though.
Neither do I. So let's go to the interesting series. Now, I pegged this as my interesting series a week ago, and I'm glad it's happening. Panthers, Lightning. It got chippy in that game. That was my game of the weekend. And they started fighting it out. And you texted me like, yeah, you were right. They started the playoffs early. And I was like, hell yeah, they did. I loved it. I saw on Twitter, this is the first ever battle of Florida between these teams in the playoffs. Mostly because the Panthers have been terrible their entire existence on this planet for the most part. So who do you think wins this series and why?
Well, for me, it just depends because, I sent you that post by NHL that said Tampa Bay would like Stamkos and Kucherov ready for round 1. I think that if they're not ready, I think Florida wins. I'm not going to lie. Florida's been looking real good since the trade deadline with Sam Bennett on their team now. They've been looking real dangerous, and they have the advantage in the season series against Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken. So
they do 5-2-1 against them.
If Kucherov and Stamkos are out, I'm definitely going to take the Panthers. But if Kucherov and Stamkos play, then obviously you're going to have to lean towards the Tampa Bay Lightning. Those are just 2 very, very well game-changing players that you really just don't want to see in the lineup if you're Florida.
So listen, I'm going to take Tampa, and I'm going to tell you why. There's no way Kucherov and Stamkos don't play in this series. And you know how I know that? Because of drugs, Joe. They're going to inject these guys with insane amounts of drugs to get them through this series. And let me tell you a little story, all right? I'm no pro athlete. All right, I'll tell you right now. I'm about 5'9" on a good day, $150. I run really fast, but that's about it, okay? I've ripped my knee up 2 times. And one time my kneecap was on the side of my knee and my leg was crooked and I couldn't go, like, get into the X-ray or MRI thing because, like, I was literally, it hurt so bad. They injected me with the stuff they give NFL players. I walked to the X-ray room, all right? I didn't feel a damn thing. Meanwhile, my kneecap's on the side of my knee and my leg is crooked. So I know for a fact that these guys are playing. They are going to shoot them up with an incredible amount of Toradol, and they'll be out there. They'll be eating Advils on steroids on the bench. They'll do whatever it takes. I think the Lightning are a better team with Stamkos and Kucherov in the lineup than Florida, obviously. But I also think Vasilevsky is a game changer in this series. I'm going to take the Lightning. Go Tampa, go.
Don't count out Bob though. Bobrovsky's having a big bounce
Yeah,
back
Bob's been
season.
hot. Bob's been hot.
But yeah, I agree. If they're all jacked up on painkillers, then I think they'll definitely win the series too.
Yeah, that's a good painkiller story. All right, yeah. But if you're Carolina, question: which team would you rather face? Let's assume Kucherov and Stamkos are healthy. You
Oh,
want
Florida.
okay? What if only one of them is healthy for Tampa?
Which one?
You're gonna get that nitpicky about it. Okay, Kucherov.
Kucherov. Then I'd rather still play Florida if it's Stamkos. Oh, wait. No, yeah, I think Kucherov's more of a bigger piece. So if they have Kucherov, then no, I still would not want to play Kucherov in the Lightning.
Okay, see that's why I'm taking Tampa because I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, he
He
is
can
a
do
stud.
everything.
Remember that series he had against the Rangers like 4 or 5 years ago when he just went
Yeah,
crazy? Yeah.
like the one year Tyler Johnson went nuts in the
Tyler
playoffs.
Johnson, yup. Dude's like 5'4" on skates and no one can stop him. Guy was a beast in the
Yeah, that was
playoffs.
crazy.
All right, last division to get to here. Penguins, Isles, Capitals, Bruins in the East. We'll save the Islanders for last because obviously we're Islander fans. So let's start with Washington and Boston. This is going to
Yeah.
be a close series, I think. Who are you going to take here?
I also agree that it's going to be a close series, but I'm going to have to take Washington over Boston. Just because, yeah, I think that Boston's top six has become way, like, perfectly balanced the way that they wanted it to with Craig Smith, Krejci, and Taylor Hall, but the way that the Capitals have been playing all year this season and the Bruins still struggling in some parts of their game, I think the Capitals beat them. But it's going to be a good series. That's my series of the first round for sure.
I think this goes 6 games. And listen, I've been on the Washington train well before I think a lot of people from New York have been. I just love that, like their forwards, I love them. I pretty much love every single forward on their team. Mantha has been huge for them since they picked him up. I know at first me and Joe kind of questioned the trade, like, yeah, I'm not really sure why you're doing that. But he's been a huge piece for them. He scored a
Yeah.
bunch. He's a point machine. I'm going to take Washington, even though the goalie situation does worry me a little.
Yeah.
A little bit.
If Samsonov somehow gets hurt, then yeah, I agree with you. I feel like they're in trouble then.
That's what I mean. They're just going to ride that man, win or lose. Like, he's just going to have to play.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with one series left. Penguins Islanders. I'll let you take the
Yeah.
stage.
I think it's going to be a really close one because obviously us against the Penguins in the playoffs 2 years ago, that was a great time. Love that series. Good games to be at for sure. But they have Jeff Carter now, so it's going to be a little bit different. But honestly, like also, I guess it's a little biased as an Islander fan. I think it's going to be a really good series. Definitely going to go 5, 6, 7 games. Definitely not. I don't think there's going to be a sweep either way, but I think the Islanders will take it in 6 or 7.
Well, I'm glad you went first. Because I like to think that I'm the not delusional one out of me and Lou and me and Keith, and I guess that also counts for me and you. So I guess I'm just the rational fan. The Islanders don't match up well with the Penguins, right? And I'm gonna give you a football analogy for this, okay? So remember the first year Pat Mahomes was starting quarterback for the Chiefs, right? They go to New England, and it's like, wow, Tom Brady and a bunch of scrubs playing like the most talented team to ever live on offense. And guess what? Tom Brady won because that's what Tom Brady does because they have a good system. And then they played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. And the Patriots won because D Ford's a fucking idiot. But the Patriots won because of Tom Brady and the system. Then they played them the next year. Yeah, and you want to guess what happened?
Yeah, the Chiefs went off a little bit.
Yeah, they did, finally. You know, right? So this past season they played the Patriots without Tom Brady, and you know what happens? Pat Mahomes plays bad, and it doesn't matter. You know why? Because Tom Brady plays for Tampa. Okay, and listen, the analogy I'm getting at here is Pittsburgh is the Chiefs. You look all over their team, and it's like, oh my God, how are we going to stop all these guys? And the Islanders are the Patriots, except without Tom Brady, because we only have one good player who's good like by himself in the front like 9 guys. If you took Matt Barzal off the team and asked somebody to fill that spot of like actually being good, I don't know if we like JG Pajot's the next guy in my opinion. Like that's just how it is. Like Brock Nelson, system player. Josh Bailey, system player. All those other guys that chip in a couple of goals here and there, system players. The system can only get you so far. And if we still had Anders Lee, I would take the Islanders in this game because he always pesters the Penguins. Always. But ever since he went down, the Islanders have not been able to replace him. I've been saying all year if I was the Islanders, the team I wouldn't want to play is Pittsburgh. And here we are.
Yeah.
Playing Pittsburgh.
Plays Washington, I'd say.
But without Anders Lee, like we could still beat Washington because we've done it. For whatever reason, without Anders Lee against Pittsburgh, we can't even score. Forget win the game. Yeah. We literally can't even score. Makes no sense.
Yeah, I guess you're right. A bit delusional, but I feel like the Islanders never play well before the playoffs.
And then they go off and do something. Yeah, I know.
We're in our streak of not doing well, so I'm just hoping they surprise us. And I honestly think we're going to start the series off in a 1-0 deficit because afternoon games, we are not good at home.
And we're playing at 12. So
yeah.
You're going Islanders in 6 or 7. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, unfortunately, in 6.
And how many? All right, 6 is respectable. If you said 5, I would have criticized you.
I don't think the Islanders are going to get run off the ice by any means. Like, they're going to be in all these games. But eventually, the star power from the other team might take over. Because it's not like, the Islanders are going to roll out of bed on Sunday and just everyone's going to start netting goals.
Possible.
Unlikely.
Imagine,
Possible.
like Palmieri and like Zajac play like how they should when like we wanted to acquire them, and then like somehow like the lines all just click at once.
So I guess that's pretty much what I'm saying. Is I don't think what you just said happens.
Yeah.
Like we've waited long enough. Like it hasn't shown up. I don't know why, but
it's weird.
It is weird.
In my opinion, I think the lines need to be shaken up. I don't get why Wallstrom hasn't played with Palmieri and Barzal yet. I like the Nelson Bouvillier Bailey line. That line's solid.
Yeah. So
but I would mix up the first and third line a bunch.
They're gonna have to, because whatever they're doing right now is not working. But so here's to recap. It sounds like we're both on Colorado and Vegas in the West, no matter what. Doesn't matter who they play. We're both on Toronto and Edmonton in the North. We both like the Hurricanes. You're on Florida. I'm on Tampa.
Yeah.
And then we're both on Washington. You like the Islanders. I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I might regret that, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh anyway.
Yeah.
So here we go. We're not going to wet the beak tonight because obviously we're not going to bet on these meaningless regular season games. That would be foolish of us to do that. So let's talk about your favorite playoff series. Now, we've hit on every series so far, but which one's your favorite?
My favorite, I think, is going to be Boston versus Washington, just because of the top sixes of both teams. Going to have to definitely go back and forth with each other and make it a really competitive one. And the top 2 defensive lines of each teams are going to have a real hard time stopping both top sixes. And it's going to be fun to watch the goalies and how they react and adapt to so many talented players on the ice at once.
Yeah, I actually like your pick. And if there wasn't a no-brainer pick like the one I took, I would have probably considered yours. But I'm going Tampa and Florida. I'm going to go back to the well. And the reason why, because like I said before, it's like they started the playoffs last week. They're out here beating the living hell out of one another for no reason in a regular season game, and I love it. And if these two guys are jacked up on painkillers, sign me up. Sign me up for that. Always. No matter
Always.
what sport. Like, there were a couple of years ago, right? When Brandon Marshall played for the Jets, they played a game in Buffalo, and this man got rolled up on so bad, and I thought he tore his whole knee to shreds. And he comes jogging out of the locker room at halftime. You know why? Drugs. That's exactly why. The only reason why. And listen, sign me up for that series. I think it's going to be a well-played game. There's a lot of skill. You got two really good goalies. The only thing missing is going to be Emmerich calling the game because it's just so sad without him there.
It is. It is. I agree.
It's just not the same.
Especially on Instagram, they posted like all of his best calls like recently. It's just like, come on.
Yeah, I know. So before we hop off tonight, Joe, we're going to give our Stanley Cup predictions.
No. Okay.
You go first.
I like Vegas and the Washington Capitals in the playoffs. Another rematch, and I think if I'm going to declare a winner, I think Vegas might take the cake for their first Stanley Cup this year. Very, very talented roster.
Okay, simple enough. I think that's an easy way to look at it. I like your picks. I'm going to go with Colorado and Pittsburgh just to be different because Washington was going to be my other pick for that, but you took them first, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Same thing, just skill all up and down, right? Listen, I've been banging the Avalanche drum since well before they were in first place, and it would be not cool of me to back off now. So, listen, we're going. You know, what does Robert Saleh say? All gas, no brakes. We're going. We're going straight through with Colorado. That's who I'm picking to get there. That's who I'm picking to win. However, on the Eastern side, I have a note down that if Kucherov and Stamkos actually play, not just like skate around the ice like to be decoys, I'm taking Tampa.
Yeah.
Because, my God, are they, like, you texted me that, and I just said, that's scary. Like, that's scary to think about. Like, Florida right now is probably like, can we start the series, like, now? Like, right now. Yeah.
Ruins the fun, I think, for Florida. Because I feel like it could be, like, a really good, close, interesting series. But I feel like if those two play, it's, like, over in 5 games.
Like, actually play. Yeah. Not, like, skate around. Yeah. So, listen, Joe is on Vegas and Washington. I'm on Colorado. Realistically, Washington, but Pittsburgh/Tampa, depending on the health of Kucherov and Stamkos.
You got 3 teams, huh?
Well, you took my team that I've been banging the drum for all year. So, like I said, I let you. I'm a nice guy, and I let you go first. I took Pittsburgh as my backup team, but since you stole my first team, I get to pick the unhealthy team that could be healthy. So there you go. I make up the rules. I'm the host of the show. I get to do what I want. Listen, me and Joe will be back next week. On probably our regular scheduled time. We just wanted to wait a day to see if the standings would break in our favor. Of course they didn't, so we waited for no reason. But we wanted to wait a day to see what would happen. Next week we'll be back recording. And maybe eventually we can get out to the studio and do it the real way.
We could.
We could.
For sure.
For sure. So listen, usual things. BeakBrands.com. Follow Beak Brands, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you watch on YouTube, subscribe, share. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, send these things to your friends. Rate and review, all the other good stuff. Joe, best of luck with your picks.
Thank you. You too, Tim.
Yeah, especially because we have a lot of the same teams, so best of luck with our picks, and I will talk to you next week, buddy.
Sounds good.